Chapter 2, How Uncle Henry Got into Trouble. Dorothy Gale lived on a farm in Kansas with her Aunt Em and her Uncle Henry. It was not a big farm, nor a very good one, because sometimes the rain did not come when the crops needed it, and then everything withered and dried up. Once a cyclone had carried away Uncle Henry's house, so he was obliged to build another. And as he was a poor man, he had to mortgage his farm to get the money to pay for the new house. Then his health became bad and he was too feeble to work. The doctor ordered him to take a sea voyage, and he went to Australia and took Dorothy with him. That cost a lot of money too. Uncle Henry grew poorer every year, and the crops raised on the farm only brought food for the family. Therefore the mortgage could not be paid. At last the banker who had loaned him the money said that if he did not pay on a certain day, his farm would be taken away from him. This worried Uncle Henry a great deal, for without the farm he would have no way to earn a living. He was a good man and worked in the fields as hard as he could, and Aunt Em did all the housework with Dorothy's help. Yet they did not seem to get along. This little girl Dorothy was like dozens of little girls you know. She was loving and usually sweet-tempered and had a round rosy face and earnest eyes. Life was a serious thing to Dorothy, and a wonderful thing too, for she had encountered more strange adventures in her short life than many other girls of her age. Aunt Em once had said she thought the fairies must have marked Dorothy at her birth, because she had wandered into strange places and had always been protected by some unseen power. As for Uncle Henry, he thought his little niece merely a dreamer, as her dead mother had been, for he could not quite believe all the curious stories Dorothy told them of the land of Oz, which she had visited several times. He did not think that she tried to deceive her uncle and aunt, but he imagined that she had dreamed all of these astonishing adventures, and that the dreams had been so real to her that she had come to believe them true. Whatever the explanation might be, it was certain that Dorothy had been absent from her Kansas home for several long periods, always disappearing unexpectedly, yet always coming back safe and sound, with amazing tales of where she had been and the unusual people she had met. Her uncle and aunt listened to her stories eagerly, and in spite of their doubts began to feel that the little girl had gained a lot of experience and wisdom that were unaccountable in this age when fairies are supposed to no longer exist. Most of Dorothy's stories were about the land of Oz with its beautiful Emerald City and a lovely girl ruler named Ozma, who was the most faithful friend of the little Kansas girl. When Dorothy told about the riches of this fairy country, Uncle Henry would sigh, for he knew that a single one of the great emeralds that were so common there would pay all his debts and leave his farm free. But Dorothy never brought any jewels home with her, so their poverty became greater every year. When the banker told Uncle Henry that he must pay the money in 30 days or leave the farm, the poor man was in despair, as he knew he could not possibly get the money. So he told his wife, Aunt Em, of his trouble, and she first cried a little and then said they must be brave and do the best they could and go away somewhere and try to earn an honest living. But they were getting old and feeble, and she feared that they could not take care of Dorothy as well as they had formerly done. Probably the little girl would also be obliged to go to work. They did not tell their niece the sad news for several days, not wishing to make her unhappy. But one morning the little girl found Aunt Em softly crying while Uncle Henry tried to comfort her. Then Dorothy asked them to tell her what was the matter. "We must give up the farm, my dear, and wander away into the world to work for our living." The girl listened quite seriously, for she had not known how desperately poor they were.
"We don't mind for ourselves,"
said her aunt, stroking the little girl's head tenderly.
"but we love you as if you were our own child, and we are heartbroken to think that you must also endure poverty and work for a living before you have grown big and strong." "What could I do to earn money? You might do housework for someone, dear. You are so handy. Or perhaps you could be a nursemaid to little children. Oh, I'm sure I don't know exactly what you can do to earn money, but if your uncle and I are able to support you, we will do it willingly and send you to school. We fear, though, that we shall have much trouble in earning a living for ourselves. No one wants to employ old people who are broken down in health as we are.
Dorothy smiled.
Wouldn't it be funny for me to do housework in Kansas when I'm a princess in the land of Oz?
Princess?
Yes. Ozma made me a princess some time ago, and she has often begged me to come and live always in the Emerald City.
Her uncle and aunt looked at each other in amazement. Do you suppose you could manage to return to your fairyland, my dear?
Oh, yes, I could do that easily. How? Ozma sees me every day at 4 o'clock in her magic picture. She can see me wherever I am, no matter what I'm doing. And at that time, if I make a certain secret sign, she will send for me by means of the magic belt, which I once captured from the Gnome King. Then, in the wink of an eye, I shall be with Ozma in her palace.